Great to be joined by one of the busiest guys in the Lowcountry, State Senator Tom Davis. Action in Columbia this week. We've had action over the last week up there as well on a couple of very interesting bills. The one you've been pushing for, gosh, almost a decade now, for making medical marijuana legal. You got it through, what, the Senate again? Now we still gotta get it through the House?
Right. It passed the Senate last week, and it's crossed over to the House of Representatives for consideration now. It is a very conservative medical marijuana bill. It requires a physician to authorize use by a patient for certain limited conditions. It requires a pharmacist to dispense the medical cannabis on the back end. It is a very tightly regulated program. What we're seeking to do here is empower doctors and empower patients to provide relief, but at the same time, make sure that we're not on a slippery slope toward recreational use. I think that's what South Carolinians want. They want to empower physicians. They want to help patients. They want pharmacists involved, doctors involved, but they don't want us to be on a slippery slope toward recreational use. And I think that's what this bill does.
Okay. How much has it changed that much from the one you have been trying to get through for the last, 3 or 4 sessions?
Well, it's virtually identical to the bill that passed the Senate 2 years ago by a 28-15 vote. I put a few more restrictions in there, a few more regulations. I mean, again, I want to make sure we have a very conservative program. I want to make sure that we draw a clear distinction between medical use authorized by a physician and dispensed by a pharmacist and recreational use. I mean, South Carolinians want to help patients, but they don't want to promote recreational use.
Okay. The other big story, I think, circulating around the Capitol has been about the constitutional carry. At least that's what it's called in some circles, the more liberal gun law. The House and Senate have each passed versions. They're not the same. Tell me kind of where things are on that and where you would like to see it go.
Right. This so-called constitutional carry is the name of this legislation. And currently in South Carolina, you can carry a firearm on your person, both concealed and open carry, if you go through a background check and if you pass 8-hour course by SLED or law enforcement showing you have proficiency in handling the firearm. This legislation that was passed by the House of Representatives would authorize somebody to carry a firearm on their person without that background check and without having any training. And that was taken up by the Senate. The Senate amended that bill to express its strong preference that individuals do get that training, a strong preference that individuals do undergo a background check, and to provide enhanced penalties in the event somebody violated those regulations. And so that was sent back to the House. The House non-concurred. The House insisted upon their version, which would allow somebody to carry a firearm, again, without a background check and without training. So now it goes to what's called reconciliation, the House version and the Senate version. And if and when it's reconciled, it'll be sent back to the House and Senate to be voted upon. But there's clearly a difference of opinion between the House and the Senate in regard to this legislation.
Let me ask you about kind of a side issue to all that. Where are both bills in agreement, or are they not in, say, a restaurant's ability to say, not in here. We're not serving anybody who's carrying?
Yeah, in the Senate version, clearly we articulate in there the right of a property owner to control their own premises. So irrespective of what law is passed and irrespective of what the law is in regard to concealed carry or open carry, that a restaurant owner or a premises owner on their private property has a right to set their own rules and regulations and decide, what they want their patrons to carry or not carry. So that's in the Senate version of the bill very clearly, that a private property owner has that right.
But not in the House? It's not in the House version at all, or is it kind of read between the lines?
I think in a different way, it may address the topic. In my opinion, the Senate addresses the issue more clearly. The Senate makes it clear that private property rights, you can control who comes on your premises. And again, the main difference is the Senate version, we express a strong preference toward and encouragement and incentives for people to get the background checks and to get the training. We believe that ought to be a default setting. And so that's the main difference between the two bills. The Senate strongly encourages and provides incentives for the training and the background checks.
With it going to a conference committee, basically, a reconciliation committee, Will that kill it for the rest of the session, or you think you'll actually see something come out?
It's a toss up, really. Depends upon how dug in each side is. I mean, I think the House is very dug in that it wants what it calls a clean constitutional carry bill, which is, the right of a person to carry a firearm on their person without having a background check and without having the training.
Right.
The Senate version of the bill expresses a strong preference and incentives for that background check and for that training. So we'll figure out whether or not there's a middle ground.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate the time. Good luck to you this week up in Columbia.
All right. Great being with you. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be back with more sports coming up next.